once we get that right, which is for me the most important thing, that they have, first of all, respect. The second one is commitment. The third one, passion. Those three ingredients are non-negotiable.
Hello and welcome into the Non-Negotiables podcast. I'm here tonight with Justin. How you doing, Juz?
Hey, Gav. Doing all right. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. Pascal can't be here tonight. He's collecting brown envelopes that Barcelona left all over Catalonia and forgot about. So hopefully he'll be back with us at the end of the week, or next week, I should say.
Yeah, hopefully not knocked off,
Well, yeah, you never know what's going on with them. Hopefully he'll be able to get out of the country with the money strapped around his waist.
Jesus.
So we did the right at the end, just me and you, after the game the other night. Yep. We said about how good a win it was. We didn't really go into too much. So let's just talk about it a little bit. The starting lineup, there was a lot of changes. We kind of nailed it as much as that. I think with Tomiyasu coming in, but White and Gabriel keeping in place, and Ramsdale coming in up front in goal, and Jorginho obviously in midfield and stuff. Was there anything in there that you would have liked to have seen done differently?
Obviously, Sago Jr. Am I saying that right, or is it Sago? I don't know. But he was obviously a big surprise to me. I try to keep abreast of the under 21 team, and he's even kind of escaped my radar a bit. I mean, I've heard the name, of course, but I didn't even know what position he was or anything. And
I guess he's had a good start to the season. I think I read he's I don't know if it was 4 goals and an assist in 5 games, or 4 assists and a goal in 5 games, but it's something like 5 goal involvements in 5 games for him at the under 21 level.
Yeah, I believe he played United under 21s last week and got a hat trick of assists. Okay. Not saying anything you said is wrong. I just, that's a pretty big deal at under 21 level, Hey, and other than that, though, I don't think there was much of a surprise. I'm looking at the lineup right now. I like it, Gaff. I think it was a strong, good cup lineup.
I'm with you. I was quite happy when I saw the team. It was pretty much what I expected it was going to be. And I thought for large parts of that first half, especially, it didn't look like the disjointed teams that we've seen in the past in Europe, especially. I thought when we kept the ball on the deck, and we'll come on to that in a bit, but when we did keep the ball on the deck, we were cutting through them pretty easily. As well as the goal, Smith Rowe had that really good chance in the first half that I wish he'd have been able to bury that one, but it was a good move to get there. Yeah. But I thought we actually played some good stuff in that first half.
No, I did as well. And I wonder, I don't know how much of a connection, there's clubs like Barcelona and Ajax especially that they purposefully plan to play the same way through all their academies. I don't know how much Arsenal is like that. I know Arteta's got a lot of control now.
We always used to be like that. Under Wenger, that was always a big thing, to play the same way all the way through the age groups.
I remember that. Yep. And when I look at this team, a lot of these guys, except for the newcomers, have at least played with the under 21s. I'm thinking Tomiyasu, Smith Rowe, of course, and then Nelson and Kedia, obviously. I'm sure Kivior, if I remember correctly, I think he even got 1 or 2 games when he first signed. Maybe I'm misremembering, but it makes sense that this team was actually jiving a little bit better than your standard just hodgepodge team for the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, and it was good to see Reece get amongst the goals as well. You said he'd been trying a little bit too hard, I think, to make an impact in the last few weeks when he's come on. So it was nice to see him be impactful. It was an assist for Eddie, although it wasn't the greatest ball back to Reece. He only just about got on the end of it, but it was good to see.
Yeah, yeah. I loved Reece in this game. Honestly, I was a little critical of his North London Derby appearance because I thought he was trying very hard to make an impact. But this game, he just seemed like he, uh, was just trying to be a team player and be the senior, Lendon Colney kid out there. And I think he was brilliant. I loved Reece in this game.
There were some really good performances, actually. You asked me last week if I thought Ramsdale had ever made a better save than the one that Raya made. Well, I think he made one in this game. That was a really excellent save to get down and tip that on the post. And I thought he was good all night. He still hit it long a bit too much for me, but he was certainly a lot more composed on the ball than we've seen him in a while.
No, I thought he was very composed. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, though. I think he did hit it long way too much. I think there was like maybe a lack of control. Is that the right way to say it? Like, I don't think he was able to make the pass he wanted to every time. So he defaulted to playing long. Overall,
I think this has to be an instruction from the manager, though, when we get under a bit of pressure to start going long. And it doesn't work. There's no doubt it doesn't work. But I think it has to be an instruction from the manager. I mean, he bought 6'4" for a reason, right?
Did you hear what Arteta said, though?
Go on. Which bit was this?
Oh, man. I want the quote completely, but I don't know if I can find it in a...
But us going long is a trait. Like, this isn't just something that just happens. There is at any point in the game, Arteta, who spends most of his time outside of his technical area anyway, could just say, stop going long. And he doesn't. And it's, and even just from kickoff, the kickoff that we do, that ploy, that tells you that Arteta is not averse to going long.
Yeah, and like I said, all right, I have an article here. Let's see.
Well, just paraphrase for me. Is he for it? Is he against it? Is he saying it's not his plan?
Yeah, he was basically like, we went longer than we went long more than I intended to and lost a lot of the control of the game.
But we do that every game. Like, there are times in every game where we start doing this. So if he wasn't happy with it, first off, he wouldn't have bought 6'4". And secondly, if he wasn't happy with it, we wouldn't keep doing it.
Well, we wouldn't keep sitting on a 1-0 goal lead and losing.
I don't know. I don't think he's upset at sitting on 1-goal leads. I think that he kind of likes that. He loves those type of victories. But I don't know. The going long thing, it's just a constant. Like, it happened when Raya was in goal as well as Ramsdale. So I don't know. I struggle to believe that is just the players deciding that on their own.
I struggle to believe that as well. Yeah.
So
I agree.
But there were some other really good performances as well. I thought Tommy at centre-back had a really good game, and we may need him because now we're hearing Saliba's got a knock. I thought Gabriel was absolutely brilliant on the night. I know Reece got the official man of the match, but for me, I thought Gabriel was man of the match. I thought he was absolutely superb. And Kiwior had a good game as well. And that block towards the end when he slid across, and I think that ball was going in. I think Ramsdale was beaten. That was superb. We defended well.
Yeah. That was a great block. And I agree. I think all the back line did well. It's the first time we've seen Tomiyasu at center back, and I thought he was brilliant. It's great that he's, presented this option to us, especially on a season where we lose someone like Timber. You've got another guy here that can play literally all four positions to a competent level. Gabriel, again, was brilliant. Even Cedric, when he came on,
I thought the subs actually had a pretty good impact on this game, right? When they come on, bringing on Jesus and Zinchenko when he did to get control of the ball. That was at that period where we'd started to go long and started to give it away and had started to get under a little bit of pressure. And I thought Jesus and Zinchenko definitely added an element of control back, and then Ødegaard really late. And obviously that's when Reece's chance come was after that, and Ødegaard had started keeping the ball, and we were over in the corner messing around with it a little bit and worked it back across. So I thought the substitutions had exactly the impact that he wanted. He looked at the game, he saw that it was getting too frantic, and he changed it.
Yeah, I think the timing of the subs was absolutely crucial, especially the Jesus Odegaard subs. I think they came right at the right time. I mean, you know, I'm a huge Smith Rowe fan, but I think he was literally like dragging his feet. He was not 90 minutes fit, and he was starting to show it. I think getting him off, getting Jesus and Odegaard on, just had a lot of semblance of control to it and let us see the game out.
Yeah, Smith Rowe was out on his feet, and you can't blame him for that because he's barely played. I didn't like when Jesus come on at first. He was shoved out wide again. That infuriated me. But it was only for a couple of minutes, and then he moved into the middle. But we really have to commit to Jesus through the middle, and this out wide stuff. I know we've got a long injury list for the weekend, and we'll talk about that in part 2 when we preview the Bournemouth game. But we have to have Jesus in the middle, and whatever has to rotate around him is what rotates around him. We've got plenty of players for them wide positions not to move Jesus out there.
What I'm hoping is with Nelson's good cameo last game and then his good start this game, he is now like he is now a viable starting option at that left or even right wing. Regardless of if it's Saka or Martinelli, and that's really what I'm hoping for. He's played Nketiah so much more. He's so much more familiar with Nketiah. Has nothing but praise for Nketiah, so I'm not surprised he's inclined to go in that direction. But I'm hoping Nelson showed enough, because I think if we have to sacrifice Jesus going out wide for Nketiah starting at center forward, it's fine, but it's not as good as we could be.
I look at it this way, and tell me if you agree with me or not. You may not do, but to me, we know what Eddie is at centre forward, right? And I've been a defender of Eddie. I like Eddie. I think Eddie's a perfectly reasonable second choice centre forward. I'm not someone that believes you can have Mbappe covering for Lewandowski up front. I just don't believe that stuff is possible. I think you have to have a second choice striker, and a second choice striker is going to be someone like Eddie. And I think Eddie does an absolutely fine job. I think the difference between Eddie up front and Reece out wide is that I think Reece has got the potential and got a ceiling that can be much higher than what Eddie's can be up front. So I think we know what Eddie can be. I think if you put Eddie in a Crystal Palace team, a Brighton team, whoever you want, I think Eddie can get a team like that 12 to 15 goals a season, which is a very good Premier League player. I don't think Eddie's any worse than Ivan Toney, for example. He's a different player, obviously, but I think when you're talking about levels of play, I think that's kind of where he is. I think the thing with Reece is that I think Reece has got the potential, and I'm not saying he's going to do it, but I think he has the potential to go way above that. I think Reece is a potential. I don't know if he's a potential superstar, but I do think he's potentially got a much higher ceiling than where Eddie's is.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I do. I do think we kind of have Nketiah's ceiling a bit nailed down. I mean, we've seen a lot of him, and it's, he is very good at what he does, but the fact of the matter is what he does is pretty limited. No disrespect to Eddie, because I like Eddie, but I think Reece has kind of that wild card X factor, and the only thing that's really kept him from growing exponentially has been injuries over the past few years.
And that really is the only reason that someone can get to Reece's age and not have progressed and still have a shot, right? Because if you're 24 and you just haven't kicked on, then the likelihood is you're not going to kick on, unless you have like a Michu season. Do you know what I mean? Like that one outlier season. But to actually kick on, I don't think you're going to do that at that age just out of nowhere. I think when injuries have stunted you and have presented your opportunities, that's when there's a ceiling there that can still be realised if you can get that under control.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, to be honest. I really think Reece could be something special as long as he can string along. Like, if he has a consistent season this year with like no injuries, I think we'll see him grow leaps and bounds. Where Eddie, and again, I mean, no disrespect to him because I like Eddie. You know, this isn't an Eddie bashing podcast or anything, but I think Eddie, you know, we've seen him healthy for several years. We've seen him get a couple pretty long runs in the team, and I just, you know, he's going to grow no matter what, just with maturity and you know, just physically growing, getting, you know, technically better. But I mean, I think we've kind of seen what Eddie is going to be.
Yeah, and I'm happy for Eddie to be the backup centre forward. I don't have a problem with it. One of the things that I really hated about the deal to sign Danny Welbeck, and I hated the deal to sign Danny Welbeck, is that I thought we spent the best part of 20 million quid on a player that should have been coming through the youth team. I don't think that is the sort of player, and that extrapolated today is probably 50 million. I don't know what it is, but I don't think we should be spending, and this is why I'm against the Ivan Toney deal. I don't think we should be spending that sort of money on that level of player. I just don't see it. Those are the players to me that should be coming through Hell End. People like Eddie Nketiah who can fill a role in the squad. You know my feeling on it. I don't think you ever buy squad players. If you want to upgrade up front, that's fine, but it's not Eddie you've got to upgrade on. It's Jesus you've got to upgrade on, because otherwise you're not getting better as a team.
Yeah, I think this like center forward is kind of the only position I can kind of see myself disagreeing with this in, and it's only because when you have a smaller, fast, lithe striker like Gabriel Jesus, who's not like a prolific finisher, but he's a master presser. Having a guy that, like, just for example, you know, Olivier Giroud. If we had a guy like Olivier Giroud off the bench to be able to come in certain situations, this would be. It's more like having a plan A and plan B, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what I mean. And I think it's most important.
I get that, but I don't think you spend 80 million quid on that.
Well, what's the last good striker we've developed? I mean, I remember Benik of Phoebe. I remember
before Eddie, we've not done. I mean, I guess you could say Andy Cole. You know, that's probably the last player to really come through and really. We've got a lot of players. You know, like Benik of Phoebe, who had a couple of good years in the Premier League. Obviously, Chuba Akpom has done okay, but none of them are. You know, I think Eddie is a level above those players. But that's what I'm saying. That is, to me, that's your youth system's got a couple of. You know, you're not going to get many Bukayo Sakas, right? Like, you're just not. If anyone's thinking we're going to get, like, right now, we're talking about wanting to see.
So how do we solve the problem, Gav? If you don't want to buy a B string player and we can't,
you buy an A string player. You buy an A-string player and you demote Jesus to the B-string player. You do not upgrade Eddie Nketiah. Upgrading Eddie Nketiah is the most pointless move that we could ever make.
But
Absolutely
do you see what
pointless.
I'm saying? I think in the striker, the center forward position, it makes sense to have two different type players. It does.
I think we've got that. And what we've done is we've tried to force Eddie Nketiah to play like Gabriel Jesus. So I'm not sure how that really works, because Eddie was always a poacher, a penalty box player, a finisher. And what we've done over the last 2 years is knock that out of him completely. And what Eddie is now is a striker that comes back towards the ball and lays the ball off. Like, Eddie now is not what Eddie was 2 years ago, and we have done that to him. So what we've done is we've tried to turn him in to diet Gabriel Jesus. That's our choice.
That's an interesting point. I don't know if I 100% agree with that, but Eddie is different. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we've turned him into a pressing defensive forward more than like an offense.
And I mean this with no offense whatsoever. He's Gabriel Jesus without world-class talent. That's what we've turned him into. So he's doing the best impersonation of Jesus he can without being as good as Gabriel Jesus. And we didn't have to do that. We could have left him as he was, as a penalty box player. And if you wanted something towards the end of a game or you wanted to change it, you could bring him on. You could play the two of them together. You could put 6'4" up front alongside him and knock the ball up to him if that's what you want to do. You've got those options, and we have decided not to use that as an option. We have decided to turn him into Diet Gabriel Jesus.
Any new listeners listening, in case you didn't know, 6'4" is Kai Havertz. Gav has referenced him a few times. It's Kai Havertz. Okay, 6'4" equals Kai Havertz. We'll get into that probably, but yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, Gav. Except how Nketiah he wasn't scoring off the bench. He was the most ineffectual forward off the bench I've almost ever seen. So it had to change. You know what I mean? Like, he had to change. At least now he presses like that.
I think it changed more when the big change was when Jesus got injured, right? Because all of a sudden, bringing someone in for one game or bringing someone off the bench is very different to now you've got to play for 4 months. It's very, very different. And I think that's when the change really, really started. And I don't know, I just don't see the validity in upgrading Eddie Nketiah. I think it's absolutely pointless to upgrade Eddie Nketiah. I've got no problem with selling Eddie Nketiah, but if you're going to do that, the person you need to be looking at is someone like Victor Osimhen, who's going to come in and play up front, and then Jesus is your change of pace man off the bench.
How much have you seen Osimhen though? He can't combine like Jesus does.
No. Well, you want a different type of striker, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
so he's more of a powerful runner. He's not like Jesus. I'm not saying he'd be better for this team. I'm saying that is the move rather than trying to upgrade. I don't think we need to upgrade Jesus, right? Let me make that clear right now. I don't think we do.
No, you've been saying that. You've been saying that for a year.
I think we're going to try to upgrade Jesus. I don't think we need to, but I also don't know that. I don't know who's out there that we can. Who are we going to go sign that's going to be an upgrade on Jesus? This is my problem right now. Who are we going to sign? Because now we're being linked with people like Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins, and that's just laughable.
So I like Watkins, but he's a lot more similar to Jesus and not as good at all. Toney, I do not want to be anywhere near that for 80 million, mate. I don't.
It's a mad price for a player that scores half his goals from the penalty spot, has had one good year in the Premier League. He's going to be 28 in March, I believe. Just coming off a 6-month ban.
He's not even that big. People think he's huge, but he's not even like a big dude.
It doesn't, to me, I don't see the logic in that. But I do think we're going to be looking to upgrade Jesus. I do, but I don't know who that's going to be. And I don't think it's something that we absolutely have to do. But if we are going to do this for a centre forward, all I'm saying is I don't think Eddie Nketiah is the one that you want to be upgrading, because I just don't. It doesn't help you. We want to get better as a team, right? We're chasing a historically good team, and buying a better second choice striker does not improve you as a team.
I mean, I think it can if you get a much different profile. You know, I've been following this guy, Thijs de Linge. I've told you about this guy. He's like 6'4", rapid, very good. Like, I mean, young. I would love to sign someone like that because he is in more of the Giroud mold. So we bring him on in situations. It's not about him being better or worse than Jesus. It's about how they adapt to the team we're playing at that time. And that's just an example. I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and I would much rather do what you're saying. But who is there?
No, that's my point. I don't know who there is that we can actually go and sign. The reason I said Osimhen is because I do think Osimhen's a possibility. I think we could get Osimhen if we pushed the boat out and went for it. That's why I said Osimhen.
And that's it. like if you could name the top strikers right now, and it's like 4 people strong.
Well, you have to go you have to kind of, there's a couple of different types of signing you can do, right? And I want to make this clear. I'm always, you don't buy squad players. The only difference is when you're buying someone like Alvarez, who's obviously young, and he came into Man City as not as basically a replacement for anybody. He came in as a prospect. So you can do that. You've got the guy at Feyenoord that we're being linked with at the minute. And he wouldn't come in and replace Jesus already. He'd come in and we'd take a look and see what we had. That's fine. That's a completely different scenario than paying 80 million for someone who isn't as good as Jesus. It's just a different thing.
But I think, kind of the only seems like legitimate link we've had to another striker has been Vitor Roque, right? And from everything I hear, it's he's basically Jesus. I mean, his play style is Jesus.
Yeah, his size, he's very Jesus. Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, maybe that's just what Arteta wants out of his centre forward.
Hey, maybe
that's what he's looking for. We're really not sure. I don't know. I don't see where we're going to magic a centre forward up from that's going to all of a sudden be better than Jesus. I just don't.
We're not. I mean, the market is. I mean, you look at United spending almost £80 million on Højlund.
Well, this is the thing, and if you think Brentford are quoting people 80 million for Ivan Toney, what do you think Ollie Watkins is going to cost? Ollie Watkins is what, 23?
110 million.
So it's and you'd be mad to do that. Absolutely mad to do that. So
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with that. The draw, Juz, we had our say on who we wanted, and I don't think either of us had the Whammers away as being the ideal tie for the next round. What did you think when you saw that come out?
I mean, this is just my own opinion, Gav. I think you share this with me. I don't much care about the League Cup, the Carabao Cup. I look at it, or I used to look at it as an opportunity to, maybe try something new or blood in youth, we've discussed this off air. I don't really care who we have. I'd like to get a weaker opponent just so we could see, maybe Nwaneri or Miles Skelly. Somebody like that. Kozer Dewberry. Yeah, sorry. But it is what it is. Honestly, Gav, I just hope we see enough rotation where it doesn't hurt us in the Champions League or the league. And if we go out, mate, I'm not going to care at all. That's just my feelings. But
yeah, my feelings on the League Cup has always been it's a really important competition for us, but it's just not important to win it. It gives you a chance to get the squad involved. It gives you a chance to maybe promote a couple of the young players. And I wouldn't look at this any differently. Now, it comes at quite a nice time because it's November 1st, so it's sandwiched in between Sheffield United at home and Newcastle at home. So it's actually not in a bad spot in the calendar. Obviously, you don't want to see Saka on the pitch. You don't really want to see Jesus on the pitch. But we can go there using the more rotational pieces and still get a win. I don't know how seriously West Ham are going to treat it. I'm guessing it depends where they are in the league at that point and what they've got either side of it. But hopefully we can get through that, and hopefully we can see some of the fringe players play a bit more, because you've seen how important it is to get players like Smith Rowe and Nelson out there and get them minutes, and Kivior and Tomiyasu, because we're going to need these players.
And and just leapfrogging on what you just said, it's different from the past few years because we actually do have some depth now. Exactly what you just said, like getting Kivior, Tomiyasu, Smith Rowe, Vieira, Nelson. We actually have a nice collection.
Cedric.
We actually have an. No. You're right. I mean, the lads seem to love him. I back Cedric. But anyways,
getting the photograph.
Yeah, getting the photograph. But I'd always prefer to see, someone like Roel Walters getting that spot at right back over Cedric, because
that was the most disappointing thing I think about seeing us come out of the hat at West Ham, is that I think it rules out any chance of seeing Roel Walters get a start. Not that I think he would have anyway. I just don't think that's Arteta's way. But I think it rules out the chance of seeing Roel Walters, Skelly, Lewis Skelly, or Wanyeri, or even Koji Dubry, probably even Sago Jr. I think it rules out the chance of them playing in the next round.
It really sucks too, Gaff, right? Because what would you rather be just? I mean, it's not even like Cedric guarantees security, right?
No, I don't see the point of playing Cedric. Yeah. To me, it's absolutely baffling why you would choose Cedric over Roel Walters. Like, what is the worst that's going to happen? Like, Cedric's floor, Roel Walters' floor can't be much lower than Cedric's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way, mate. And it just, it sucks, man, because he looked really good in preseason last year, Mm-hmm. And I just don't see how he could be, even if he's a little worse than Cedric now. I mean, you're paying dividends into your future, but I'm not a manager, so
no. So just to touch on something non-Arsenal related for a minute, something that's absolutely had me rolling on the floor laughing today. Barcelona have now officially been charged with payments made to the vice president of the refereeing committee. They paid him, I think, 7.3 million euros over a 10-year spell. It's only in La Liga. The stuff about we're going to get awarded the Champions League, that's not going to happen. The guy that they paid off was on the Spanish the Liga refereeing committee, nothing to do with the Champions League.
Negreira, right? That's
Enriquez Negreira. Yeah, Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira. But I mean, it's pretty serious stuff. The Spanish police raided the offices at the Royal Spanish Football Federation. They came away with documentation. They've raided Barcelona's offices too. The investigation started back in February, so they've had a while to build a case, not as long as the Premier League have against Man City, but they've had a while to build a case. There's some serious punishments that can come out of this, depending on how they find.
Mate, Barcelona may be my least favorite club all time. And all that Basqueun club stuff, when they're constantly caught up in controversy and levers and just shady shit constantly, I literally can't help but just enjoy. Sorry if anybody loves Barca here.
No one loves Barcelona here. No one listening to us loves Barcelona. I will guarantee that.
I sure hope so. But
there's no one wearing the half and half scarf.
But I can't stand the club. I probably dislike them more than Tottenham and United. Just me personally. That Van Persie red card in the 2011 Champions League.
That was so bad. That really was outrageous. That red card.
And I can't. I hate the club. I think the world would be better off without him now that Messi's gone, especially. So I mean, fuck them.
Well, we may see a world without him. Or at least a world with them. At the end of the day, when this stuff like this happens, and this is the thing with the Man City thing, it's very hard to start these investigations, make this stuff public, and then go, okay, nothing to see here. You kind of feel like something has to happen. No matter what it is, something has to happen. And Barcelona are so crooked, and they're still at it. Today, they released accounts that they made 380 million euros profit this year. I don't know if you saw this. After-tax profits over 300 million euros. Like that club are ridiculous. They can't even buy a pack of crisps with their own money. Like it is ludicrous how crooked they are. Them and Juve are basically peas in a pod, right? I mean, they dodgy deals between them to get around this. The question is how much are La Liga going to defend Barcelona, because they've lost Neymar, they've lost Ronaldo, they've lost Messi, they've lost all their stars in recent years. La Liga as an entity is falling in value, and losing Barcelona as well would be a huge blow to that league, to their international reputation, to their international TV deals. So it's how vociferously do Barcelona get defended by the people in power?
I don't think a lot, Gaff. You have Tebas, who's like their they're the president of La Liga. Basically, they signed that CVC deal for like something absurd, like 10 years, and they're kind of guaranteed the money that they're going to get. And I think all the other clubs, I don't know if La Liga votes similar to the Premier League, because I've never really heard that. But
no, I don't think it does. The Premier League is
I
weird
don't think
because
so
of the way
either.
the Premier League was formed. La Liga is different.
But if there's any kind of influence from the other clubs, I think they're ready to start taking back the lion's share of marketing that Madrid and Barcelona get. And they're only going to look to benefit from this. This is, and Madrid probably will pull for it too, unless it affects them too much. So, I mean, what we're seeing now could be a drastic change in La Liga. And I don't want to pretend like an expert. I mean, I only know what I read, but I've been reading up on this quite a bit, and I think this actually could be decently bad for Barca. I don't think they're going to go into administration or anything, but I think they're going to start having kind of the hammer thrown at them.
We'll keep up to date with this as it goes along, and we will talk about it as stuff comes out. Right now, it's very, very early. Like I said, the investigation's been going on for a few months, but the charges have only just come out either yesterday or today. I think it might even have been today that the charges were released. So we'll catch up with that another time, because it is interesting stuff. Obviously, they're a long-time foe of ours. You mentioned the Robin van Persie red card. We've obviously got the Champions League final in 2006. 5 years in a row, it seems like, getting stuffed by them in the Champions League round of 16 as well. So we've got some history there. So I think we're looking on with interest.
I hope we get him this year. I do. I'd love to get him in like round of 16.
I'd like to get them in the final, because that means we've made it.
They're not going to make it to the final, but well, we probably
won't
either. But
don't say that. Don't say that.
Hey,
and it's at Wembley, so if we get there,
all the big teams are kind of down. I mean, even Bayern, Inter, Barca.
I've said it all along. The biggest competition in the two best teams in that are Arsenal and Manchester City.
I think you're right.
Real Madrid have the Champions League hoodoo. Whatever it is that they do to cast a spell over people in the Champions League. But I think the two best teams are us and Man City. So we'll see about that. All right, mate. Well, listen, let's leave the first half there. We'll come back for the second half, and we'll preview the Bournemouth game.
Perfect.
All right, mate. See you on the other side.
All right.
Hey, guys. Just a couple of quick halftime messages for you. Firstly, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. It really helps us reach a wider audience, particularly on Apple Podcasts. Secondly, we're on all the social media platforms as the NN Pod. We're really trying to build a strong Gooner community. So next time you're on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, look us up, give us a like or a follow, send us a message, interact with other listeners, or just have a look around. Thanks for listening from myself, Paz and Juz. We really appreciate it. Welcome back to the Non-Negotiables podcast. This is part 2. I'm going to preview the Bournemouth game, and obviously we're going to start where we always do with the Who Am I game. It's a player that played for both Arsenal and Bournemouth. It is a simple one today, and I apologise, but it's not that easy to find players that played for both. So here we go. You ready?
I am.
All right. Who am I? I started my career with Sheffield United, although I never started a league game. After a short loan spell at Worksop Town, I moved to Bournemouth. I had loans at Chesterfield and AFC Wimbledon before establishing myself in the first team, playing 37 league games. I then moved back to Sheffield United before signing for Arsenal and playing 76 league games. Who am I? Juz, have you got the most obvious who am I of all time?
I do.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll revisit it at the end, and I'm sure you'll be right. If not, we're all going to laugh at you. So we've got injury problems, right? I mean, I think that's where we start here. Timber and Partey are obviously out. Looks like Martinelli is going to be out. Saka, Trossard, and Rice are doubtful. Saliba and Vieira have both got knocks that we found out about in the week. The Vieira one I'm not surprised about. I did say last week after the Spurs game that I thought he might have been injured because he took a couple of big whacks in that first half.
He did. Yep.
So that doesn't really surprise me. The injuries are a concern. I mean, I don't know. The Martinelli one, eventually, with a player like Martinelli, he's going to get a hamstring pull. He pays at 100 miles an hour for every minute of every game. Partey is just injury prone. We know what he is at this point. Timber's one, it's an ACL. Like that happens. Saka was a kick. Rice is a back. I'm not sure. I've seen people bitching and moaning about the physios and our medical staff. I'm not sure how much that's got to do with anything, to be honest.
No, I don't think so, Gav. I mean, I think all these are pretty logical injuries that just happen, especially when we're a team like Arsenal that don't like it up them. I mean, that's been the reputation now for what 20, I mean, maybe even 30 years. I don't know before 2002, but I don't think there's anything wrong with our physio team or anything like that. I think all these are, bound to happen. I mean, Saka's been, we can all say it, he's probably been overplayed.
Well, I think he's going to play tomorrow. My feeling is Saka will play tomorrow. That's what I think. I think out of all these players that I've just said, the one most likely to play is Saka. I think Saliba's likely to play, but I do think Saka's going to play.
Well, I do know Arteta likes to play games with this whole fitness roulette thing. So, I mean, you may be right. I could see Saliba, Saka, Timber. Maybe he even lines up. Who knows? But
on crutches, yeah. Just leave him on till the last 5 minutes.
But Arteta does like to play those games. Likes to keep everything open ended and stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. Saka, I could see Saka, Trossard, and Saliba all being fit tomorrow.
I think the bigger worry here is that once again we're getting cluster injuries, right? We're getting injuries in the same area of the pitch. So Martinelli's out. Okay, that's fine. We'll play Trossard. Oh no, he's out as well. Partey's out. Well, thank God we paid 105 million for Declan Rice. Well, now he's a doubt as well. It's players in the same area of the pitch, and that is a problem. Even Saka being out, you think, well, he tried Vieira there a few times. Vieira actually looked quite bright. Now Vieira's out. So that's what really kills you, is when you get these injuries in the same position, because no matter what anyone says, we cannot have a 36-man squad.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, though, isn't it? I mean, I'm never. I don't know, Gav. I mean, I'm never one to I don't want to blame shit on injuries. Injuries happen to everybody at different levels. I mean, do I feel like we may be more afflicted? I mean, sure, but
that hasn't been the case, though. I don't think, for the last couple of years. There was a spell under Arsene Wenger in particular, but I think that could be explained by the fact that we tended to buy a lot of injury-prone players.
We did,
but there's reasons. There's reasons for that. They're cheap. Right? That's the thing. At that point, we were not spending big money. So you're not going to be able to buy Mark Overmars for the money we paid for Mark Overmars if he hadn't done his ACL 18 months earlier. That's just a fact. We wouldn't have been able to get Thomas Rosicky out of Dortmund unchallenged if there wasn't a worry with his injury history. Do you know what I mean? Like, the players we were signing are players that are a little bit broken. They've got a little bit of a stain from somewhere. And that is how it manifests.
We've kind of always done that. I mean, even, looking at Van Persie, I mean, I know he was one of ours. It wasn't we had him forever, but, he didn't have a fully injury-free season until that last one before he left us.
Until his good season, basically. And that's that. At that point, that was just how it was. But the last couple of years, I don't feel it's been like that. Take Thomas Partey out of it, and I think you just have to accept that Thomas Partey is just an injury-prone player. I just don't think his body is basically built for the Premier League. I think if you take him out of it and you take Tierney out of it, who's exactly the same, but without them, we've not really had tons and tons of injuries. You got Tomiyasu. It's all the same players. It's not like it's all these different players. Our problem is that we were leaning so heavily on a few injury-prone guys.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, even though when you look at Partey's injury history before signing for us, it was non-existent.
He also didn't play a ton of games though before he signed for us. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not people act like Thomas Partey was playing 35 games a season for like league games a season for 10 years before he signed for us. He wasn't. So there's that, and then you've got the Premier League. It's just obviously a much more difficult league than La Liga to play in. You're asked to do more. You're asked to cover more ground.
It's more physical and faster.
And we don't have breaks at Christmas. The weather's colder, which obviously affects strains and stuff like that. So there's differences, and we've at the end of the day we signed him, and it is what it is, and you just have to accept that he's going to come back, right? He'll come back in the next couple of weeks. He'll be here for a couple of months, and then he's going to be out again for a couple of months.
Yeah, that's, I mean, the way of it, right?
That's not going to change now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the only really shocking, I don't even know if that's the right word, but the only really shocking injury we had last season was the Jesus one for like 3-4 months.
Yeah.
That really derailed our season. Because, I mean, I think every Gooner expected, Partey to miss, Tierney to miss, that was no surprise.
Yeah, I mean, and Saliba just came down from 6 foot up in the air against Fulham and landed on his back. Like that stuff is going to happen at some point during the season.
I mean,
the problem was that we replaced him with Rob Holding.
Yep. Yeah, just like Rice right now. I mean, he's got a back injury, like a mystery back injury. He's been mostly fit for every West Ham game over the past few seasons, and but sometimes this stuff happens, especially these back injuries. And, it is what it is. I don't think there's anything wrong that Arsenal is doing or the physios are doing. It's just, they're normal injuries.
You just have to deal with it. And we're going down to Brighton. It's not the worst fixture to be going when you've got a little bit of an injury crisis. Last year was the 3-0 game, the Saliba left foot whipped into the top corner game, the birth of the Saliba chant. That game last season, I think, was the one where we really arrived. It was early on. It was the 3rd or 4th game of the season, I think. But I think that was the one when everyone set up and went, oh, you know what? They're quite good.
Brighton, Arsenal?
Bournemouth,
Arsenal.
When we won 3-0 there.
Yeah. No. You're absolutely right. I thought you said Brighton. Sorry. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That was the stand up and look at this club because they are actually good, and Saliba is like a world-class center back type game. Yep.
Yeah, that was the beginning of it. And this year we're going there, and like I said, we do have our problems, but Bournemouth haven't started well. They've got 3 draws and 3 defeats from 6 games in the league. They've beaten 2 championship sides in the Carabao Cup. But they've got a couple of little injuries as well. Solanke's carrying a knock. He might be fit, but he might not be. Tyler Adams had a hamstring problem over the summer. He played his first minutes on Wednesday night in the Cup. So they've got a couple of things. We should be dispatching these, even if we are missing a few key pieces.
I think so, yeah. And if we cannot, then we're not title challengers.
I think that's absolutely fair. There's some decisions that Arteta's going to have to make here, right? They're obviously depending on who's missing. I think this all starts for me in one place, and that is Gabriel Jesus' centre forward. He's not on the right. He's not on the left. He's centre forward. Even if everyone we listed is out, Gabriel Jesus needs to play through the middle. You can play Reece and Emil Smith-Rowe either side. I don't care how you do it, but for me, Gabriel Jesus has to play through the middle.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, man, I don't know what Arteta sees in Nketiah playing through the middle. I mean, I assume it's a pressing thing because he's also persisting with Havertz right now, where he's not doing anything offensively, but he's being very good defensively and pressing wise.
He's 6'4" as well.
Yeah, 6'4". Yep.
Yeah, he's 6'4". So I mean, that's a part of it. But I mean, personally, I would rather see Ramsdale start tomorrow. I don't think he will. I think, he's going to be Raya. There's no doubt it's going to be Raya. Ben White's going to play at right back.
Why do you prefer Ramsdale?
I think he's a better goalkeeper. I've told you that from the start. I think Ramsdale is a better goalkeeper than Raya. I don't like my goalkeepers as short as Raya is. I think Ramsdale's 2 or 3 inches taller. My personal belief is that Ramsdale is a better goalkeeper than David Raya. That is just how I see it. I mean, that's just it. But I don't think Raya's bad. I just think Ramsdale is better.
I don't think there's enough between them for me to even argue. I mean, I think they're very close, and they have slightly different strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, I don't take any offense to Ramsdale's better. I just think, we brought Raya in for a reason.
I agree. That's what I think he's going to play. That's why I think he'll play. I do think that if we sign him for 30 million in the summer, it's the biggest waste of resources that we've ever had. But I do think it will happen. I think we will absolutely waste that money.
How much did we pay for Squalashi?
3.5 million, I think.
Oh, okay, then yeah, you're probably right.
I think it would be absolutely pointless, but I think he's going to do it. But anyway, so I think he'll start tomorrow. Ben White's going to be at right back. Shout in if you disagree with me on any of this. I think Saliba, if Saliba can make it, I think Saliba's going to play, right? And if Saliba doesn't, then obviously it will be Tomiyasu. Gabriel is going to continue. And it's interesting he played Gabriel, and I thought he would, because I think Gabriel looks like he needs games. Does he look like that? I agree.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He needs games.
Well, and he missed what was it? 2 games or 3 in the beginning?
At the beginning of the season, 3, and he had that little knock playing for Brazil as well. And I just think Big Gabby's one of them players that he's a bit like a train. Once he's going, you need to just keep him in there. And so I think he'll play. Zinchenko's going to play.
Yep.
Defensive midfield, I think even if Rice is fit, I don't think Rice is going to start. I think he's going to start Jorginho, whatever happens. Erdegaard's going to start. I think 6'4" starts, regardless of whether Vieira makes it or not. I think the Vieira question comes on the right-hand side, because I think you've got a choice to make in that front line. I don't really see Trossard making it. And if Saka doesn't make it, this is, to me, is where the decision comes in. To me, it should be Jesus through the middle, Reece on the left, and then Vieira on the right.
Yes, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, but if Vieira doesn't make it, I would flip that, I think, and I would play Reece on the right, and I would play Smith Rowe coming from the left. Yeah, I think that's how I would do it.
Yep. Same. I mean, I know this is poor discussion for a podcast, but that's exactly what I would do. Yep.
Do you think there's a chance that he goes with Eddie up front and Jesus out wide? I mean, our best performances this season, the only time we ever look like scoring, basically, is when Jesus is through the middle. Even Spurs, we scored 2 goals. One's an own goal and one's a penalty. So the only time we've really clicked was PSV, and okay, it's a weaker standard of competition, but it's not really a shock that it comes with Jesus playing straight through the middle.
Yeah, Gav, unfortunately, I think there's more than a chance we see that happen. But I don't want it. I don't want it. But I think what Arteta will do, I think if Saka is fit, Saka's going to play, and then I think we'll see. Then I definitely think we'll see Jesus through the middle, because I think he'll start Reece. But I think if Saka's, I do, yeah. I think he'll start. I think he'd start Reece and Jesus through the middle. But I think if Saka is out, I can see him starting Jesus off at the right, playing, and then Eddie up top. Middle, and then Nelson left.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I think he'll do it if Saka's not there.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. And honestly, I thought Jesus. No, I'm sorry, not Jesus. Eddie. I thought Eddie, he kind of burned out. I mean, he was working super hard, and don't get me wrong, he had a great game. But I think he was kind of burning out as well towards the end.
On Wednesday night?
Yeah, on Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right, he did have a good game on Wednesday. I thought Nketiah had an excellent game on Wednesday. But yeah, he was maybe tiring a bit towards the end. So... I think if Saka makes it, I think Eddie's on the bench. But I just have this feeling that if Saka doesn't make it, that he's going to play Jesus out there.
I mean, we all hope, right? Saka plays, but do you want him to play?
I'm fine with it because Saka has a way of playing within himself. Saka's not someone that's all out every game. Like I would be a lot more worried about Martinelli playing with an injury than I am with Saka playing through an injury, just because of their style and the way they play. Now, I do think that the management against Spurs was horrendous, where Saka's on one leg and he's being left out there with no need for it at all. We had subs left. There was no need to leave him on the pitch there. Yeah. So I think that was horrendous. Him playing games, I'm not bothered by players playing games. Give them the week off. If they want to rest, give them training sessions off. I'm not bothered about players playing games. If he's now this is a different scenario if his ankle is the size of a baseball. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a different scenario. But if he's fit to play, I have no problem with Saka playing.
If there was a Premier League game that I would be okay with Saka skipping out on, especially because we already know he's carrying an injury, it'd be this one.
Well, we have Lons away on Wednesday night too, and I've got to assume that Arteta is going to go as close to full strength as he possibly can for that one away in Europe. I don't see him putting out a Carabao Cup side in that game. So if Saka, whether Saka plays or not,
he'll be in
Saturday,
Lons.
He's playing in Lons.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think he'll be starting against Lons.
Yeah,
which is why I wouldn't mind him.
I wouldn't mind, because I don't think it's I think we can get the result without Saka in this one, so I wouldn't mind it. But like I said, my fear is that it's going to be Jesus wide and Eddie up top for this, and I just don't think that works. I would rather see it be Jesus up through the middle and then Smith Rowe and Nelson either side. To me, that makes so much more sense. But I don't know. I just don't see him doing that.
I was listening to I usually graze through the podcast today. Somebody said Arteta said Smith Rowe took a knock, and then we don't even know if Vieira's fit either. So we could just be in a bit of a cursed situation right now. But I agree with you 100%. I think if we can win this game without Saka, we should try. And Nelson's fine on the right. I know he's been better on the left, but he's fine on the right. Smith Rowe will be great on the left.
You can move them about if you need to. You can swap players about in positions if you need to during the game. I know Arteta doesn't really like doing that, but you can easily switch ESR and Nelson over at some point if you want. And if you wanted to make the team a lot worse, you could even move Gabriel Jesus out wide during the game.
Yep. I mean, and, we haven't really talked about this. At least his performance, but I mean, Sago Jr., he had a fine game. He was fine. I mean, I don't think he's going to be in consideration to start this game. I don't think he's going to be in consideration to start a Premier League game, but he was fine. He wasn't spectacular, but he was fine. I think just having somebody like that, getting that experience and doing, presenting himself as he did, he didn't light it up, of course, I agree. But, he shows that he can hang at that level at least, which I think is positive considering we literally don't have another right winger in the squad.
Well, but Arteta's a bit weird with this though, because he'll do this, he'll play him, and then we won't see him again for a year. Do you know what I mean? You saw it with Wanyeri.
Yeah,
and we've seen it, but we've seen it with plenty of youth players in the play. Even Raul Walters got called up. He's on the bench a few games, and all of a sudden you don't see him for a year. This is kind of how Arteta does it. I don't understand the pecking order with the youth players, to be quite honest with you. We've heard about is on that wing. Kozia Dubry could be the man. He could be the next one to come out, and then when the chance arises, he plays someone else. So I don't really understand the pecking order with the under-21s. I'm sure it must have to do with his discussions with the the development staff and all that stuff. But I don't really understand it.
Yeah, I think he tries to be ridiculously merit-based. And when I say ridiculously, I mean get 3 hat tricks against United. You know what I mean? Like in the under 21 game, and then you might get a chance. Because his stuff with and I think Enwanyeri was about the contract. To be honest, I really
100%. It was to show him and to show the other kids that there was a pathway, even when we're playing well.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I agree. Arteta is really weird about this kind of stuff, and he claims to. Oh, I don't want to say that. That makes it sound like he's being disingenuous, but he does make a lot of claims about like work and training and stuff like that. But then I don't know. I mean,
we're not privy. We're not privy to the inside.
We're not privy.
Inside working to training every day. Like I said, I'm sure these decisions are made after discussions with the development staff. So I'm sure that I'm not saying there's no method to it. I'm sure there is a method to it. I'm just saying that I don't know what it is. So if he is to bring a youth team player in there, maybe it is Sago Jr., but I think there's equally every chance that it's Koji Dubry that comes in if he's going to do it. I mean, I don't see either happening, but I couldn't tell you which one it was going to be if he was going to play one.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I imagine at least one or two will be on the bench with the injuries, unless there's some miracles happening with Trossard, Martinelli, Rice.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that. I mean, I think a couple of these players are going to make it, right? Like whether they're starting or not. Like I think Saka is at minimum going to be on the bench. I just don't see. I don't know. I can't see a world where he's not. I think Vieira will probably make it. And Saliba as well. Probably we'll have to see. I don't see all of those players. How many did we name? 3, 5, 8. So eight players. We know that Timber Party and Martinelli are definitely missing out. Yeah. I don't think the other 5 are all going to miss out. I think at least 3 of them are going to make it, even if it's onto the bench.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think we're going to see. I think Trossard 100% will be there.
Well, we've had this before with Trossard, right? He's out. Oh my God, he's starting.
Yep.
So it's it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, and he gives us a lot of flexibility at center forward and left or right.
Yeah, and he's played off the right too. I mean, he's not as effective off the right, but he has played there. Yep. But this is a must win for us, I think, because
it has to be.
Yep. Yeah, City go to Wolves. We're already 4 points off the pace after 6 games, and the points dropped. We're at home. To me that's the biggest thing. It's not just that we've dropped 4 points; it's that we've dropped them at home in games we should have won, in games we've been leading. That to me is the bigger problem here. And City go to Wolves. They're going to win there, so they're going to come to the Emirates with 7 wins from 7. We have to win on Sunday, or we're just going to on Saturday. Sorry, we're just going to find ourselves too far behind.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering City is the next Premier League game. I mean, we could find ourselves 7 or 10 points behind if we.
Yeah, and there's no chance of us making that up. Like I want to make that clear right now. There is no chance of us making that up.
No.
So if we want to have, and I can accept if we fall away in April. Mm-hmm. I can't accept being out of it by the start of November. Like to me, especially with the start that we've had, like our fixtures could not have been any kinder.
Yep. Yeah, mate. No, I agree 100%. I mean, we cannot be out of it right now and consider ourselves like a serious team.
No, so
a title contender.
No, so we have to. I think to be a title contender, I think we have to win this game. It's just too early to be dropping these silly points. We can't carry on doing it. But we need to start creating some chances, Juz, because I think that's the biggest thing for me so far is that we're not scoring enough goals. But not only are we not scoring enough goals, we don't even look like scoring enough goals.
Well, what are you thinking, Gav?
Something we've got to find some way to get this clicking, right? I think the tempo has to be raised for a start. I think we've been too slow. I think we're being too methodical, moving the ball left to right. It's not the horseshoe of death. Don't get me wrong. It's not that. But I think we're just being too slow. We're not switching the ball quick enough. And there's something is just not working in that front line, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm hoping Arteta's got a better idea than me, but we are just not creating enough chances. We have created 38 big chances less than Liverpool in 6 games.
Yep.
36 less than Man City in 6 games. You can't do that.
Mate, I don't want to point out the obvious, but I don't like what Havertz has brought to us offensively. I think his pressing numbers are great. His defensive numbers have been great. Every time I watch him, even when the pundits and stuff say he's had a good game, I see it doing the bare minimum. Granite was actually out there, playing progressive passes, winning the ball just like Havertz. Pressing when he could, dropping into the back line to defend. But he was scoring, he was assisting. Havertz looks like a deer in headlights when he's got the ball in the 18-yard box.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want the ball. Like I pointed this out on Wednesday night. He gets the ball in the box and he does not want to shoot. He's scared of what's going to happen when he shoots. Yeah,
he's playing scared. He's playing scared. He's lacking confidence. I know he's big. That's great. And I know Arteta wanted something like that in his, more forward line. That's fine. But I think as of right now, he really needs to sit out and be eased back in because it's not working.
See, for me, it goes beyond that, right? It's not just, I don't know if you heard, but he's 6'4". It's not just that
he's what?
In there. It's that 6'4" has a tendency to go up front and we aim the ball at his head. And to me, that is the bigger problem here. The bigger problem is that the whole structure of the team is changing. And there's no problem, right? Teams are going to evolve. You have to evolve. But what we've got right now is not working. So something has to change. We cannot keep just pushing him up top and whacking the ball up to his head because that is not helping him as much as anything else.
Gav, let me ask you a really serious question right now. Was the whole purpose of bringing in Raya so we could find 6'4"'s head?
It looks it, doesn't it? I mean, the whole point of this 6'4" thing, where this started, is I said to everybody, I do not believe that we paid 65 million for Kai Havertz. I think we paid 65 million for 6'4", right? I think it's immaterial that it was Kai Havertz. We just wanted a big body in there. And I do not get it. And yes, I think the Raya transfer is linked to the Havertz transfer. Havertz is not what we thought he was going to be.
Can you put it in meters for our European listeners?
No. I don't understand meters. I never have.
Okay, that's fine.
We don't see. This is a common misconception in England. We don't use meters.
Can you put it in stone?
I could do it in stone, but you'd have to give me a weight because that's a weight measurement. But I can do stone.
I know.
But we don't actually use meters and we don't use kilometers. So that's it's kind of some weirdos use Celsius, but I don't know. That's beyond me too. But yeah, that's the thing though. Juz, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think the style of play is basically affected by the fact that he's 6'4". I think our style of play is affected by it. And I don't think that we're getting any benefits from it.
Gav, I hate it. And yes, I see it too. And I hate it. So the whole impetus on Arteta first coming in was like play out from the back, even at the detriment of the team. Right? You remember that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that FA Cup run, even.
Yeah, we won a cup final. Our goals were all exactly the same. Playing out from the back, getting it to Aubameyang over on the left wing, him coming in and curling it into the corner. It was exactly the same recipe over and over again.
Exactly. And now, when we have a viable option, we're not using it as an option. We're using it as the go-to. After what is it? Is it 2.5? I guess 2.5 seasons of playing out of the back consistently. Now we just want to hit it long.
It's like a crutch, right? Do you think it's like a crutch? Because it seems to be in the same, and it seems to be in the same area. We've had a problem ever since Arteta come in of this 15-minute spell before half time, right? How often do we start a game really well? We get to the half hour, and all of a sudden we seem to go to shit. We do it all the time. We just end. We start quick and we end the half so slowly, and then we tend to have a similar spell kind of in the middle of the second half. And what's happened is, as soon as we start getting into that spell, we start immediately going long, and the ball immediately comes back at us. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I agree 100%. And it's like, I understand what guys like James McNicholas and Tim Stillman, they both say the same thing, that we prioritize hitting long and winning the second ball. But the only
I would buy that if we ever won a second ball.
Yeah, the only player that does that is Jesus and sometimes Nketiah. I feel like nobody else does it. It's not a common event for our team. It's just not. So I find the whole thing really dumb, and I find like it feels like archaic football at this point to me. Like you buy a big ass attacking midfielder that's going to run past your striker to win headed balls from a good passing goalkeeper. I mean, but he's not doing that, and he looks afraid to score a goal.
Yeah, it's a bizarre experiment that, I mean, we have to change the way that the experiment's being conducted, or the outcome is going to be failure. Like there's no doubt about it. We cannot continue to do what we've been doing because it's not working. So they've got to change something. And I hope they can get it figured out. I don't know what the ceiling for Kai Havertz is. Personally, I don't have much faith that it's particularly high. I think our best case scenario is that he's decent for a couple of years before he goes back to Germany on loan. Personally, I think that's kind of where it's going. But what we have to do is make sure it doesn't derail the entire team because he's desperately trying this.
I think Kai's going to end up outside the left 8. I don't think he's going to play there much longer. I think.
Well, I didn't think he would when he signed, right? Like my immediate thought was he's coming in to compete with Jesus up front, and I think his best performances for us have come when he's been up top.
Me too. Yeah, I couldn't argue with that at all. I think his best performances have been in like the false 9. He can
and like you want a different type of option. There it is. He's already there.
Yeah, there it is. Yep, and I'm totally comfortable with that. But Arteta's, going back to Willian and stuff like that, I'm just worried that Arteta's going to persist with this until January, February.
Oh, I definitely think he will. Think he will. We ain't going away from this anytime soon.
Yeah, and I'm scared, Gav.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to see what,
because our season will be over.
We've, the only other thing is that the other players have got to adapt around it, because we haven't adapted to this at all. So the other players, if we are not going to adapt the way we're using him, then everyone around him has got to try and adapt to it, and that is not happening so far.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I think there's something to be said. Sorry, I've got a dog climbing in my lap. There's something to be said about him just looking scared. You know what I mean? Like looking scared in the position. And I think that no matter what,
a goal will change that though. Like I do think it improves when the first goal goes in. Like I don't think it's going to be like this forever. I just don't know how much better it's going to be. That's my worry. I do think it gets better when he scores. I just don't know how much it gets better.
Yeah, I think it will improve his confidence a lot to have, a goal contribution or two. But I just, I really, really, really wish we would. I mean, I'd like him to only be a forward. He shouldn't be a midfielder in this team. He just shouldn't.
Well, I think we're going to see that experiment again on Saturday, one way or another. I think he's definitely playing in midfield on Saturday. So let's see if we can start to maybe adjust around it and hopefully exceed our expectations on it, because the only way that we are going to get ourselves into a title race properly is if we can start firing as a team, which we're not doing so far. So, Juz, let's finish up with the Who Am I game. So I'm gonna read it out again for you. Who am I? I started my career with Sheffield United, although I never started a league game. After a short loan spell at Worksop Town, I moved to Bournemouth. I had loans at Chesterfield and AFC Wimbledon before establishing myself in the first team, playing 37 league games. I then moved back to Sheffield United before signing for Arsenal and playing 76 league games. Who am I?
I mean, it's obvious, isn't it, Gav? It's Jack Wilshere. No, it's Aaron Ramsdale. It's Aaron Ramsdale.
It is. It's the best goalkeeper at Arsenal, Aaron Ramsdale. Correct.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming on. We will catch up again at the start of next week to do the review. We will have a right at the end tomorrow after the game. That is only on YouTube. So if you guys go to our YouTube channel, we'll be on there. Generally, we're on there within about 10, 15 minutes of the game ending. Get our reaction there. And we will see you on this channel again next week. So it's goodbye from me, and thank you, Juz.
Hey, thanks, Gav, and thank you, listeners. You guys have a good night.
All right, good night.